Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Premier Injuries Daily Update. I'm speaking ahead of game week 3, and we've already heard from 5 Premier League managers on Thursday. Now, first up, Antonio Conte. Late on Wednesday evening, news broke that Argentine defender Christian Romero could be set for a significant spell on the sidelines. Reports from some media outlets suggested that could be up to a month with a muscle problem. However, Conte has allayed those fears. He referred to it as a minor issue, a slight adductor problem that was reported by the player after the game with Chelsea. Now, they had that checked. It's nothing serious. Indeed, the player wanted to go out there and play in game week 3. However, Antonio Conte said this is not the time to be taking any unnecessary risks. So he is out of the game. With regards to potentially players coming in, that could be Davinson Sanchez. Japhet Tanganga is also waiting in the wings as well for a start, but there are apparent discussions with regards to if he's going to go out on loan or not, having slipped down the pecking order. Now, the reason I'm going or leaning towards Davinson Sanchez, Conte was asked questions about the likes of these new summer signings, Langate, Ivan Perisic, and he said, while there is just one game per week at this moment, he's going to use this as an opportunity, one, to get those players fully fit, but also so they can learn the Tottenham philosophies, the footballing ideas of the club. So it suggests as if changes will be kept to a minimum this weekend, and it could be just that single change. So Perisic may not be thrown in just yet. Oliver Skipp was the other update that we've had. We know he's been out with initially was a foot laceration and a hairline fracture of the heel. He's due to step up his training probably on Friday with a little bit of running, and Antonio Conte then anticipates, if he comes through without a reaction, anticipates that he'll be back in first team contention relatively quickly, so maybe before the end of this month. At Bournemouth, we heard from Scott Parker. Dominic Solanke is the big news. He was a training ground injury absentee last weekend in game week 2 after rolling his ankle. Scott Parker said he faces a late fitness test, so there's no guarantees on whether he can make it or not. It's going to be a very late call, but suffice to say he should be close. So if it isn't this week, then certainly next. Ryan Fredericks and also Joe Rothwell, they're out of contention. David Brooks, he's still working his way back from that Hodgkin's lymphoma diagnosis. That's now cleared, so he's getting himself back to full fitness. We're probably nothing definitive, but probably looking at in and around maybe October for a potential return to play for him. Nottingham Forest, Steve Cooper, back in the transfer market, dipping his toe. Morgan Gibbs White. Reports that he suggested that they've signed the Wolves winger for around about £44 million with add-ons. Going crazy down there at the City ground. So providing all of that paperwork goes through, he should be in contention for this weekend. Of course, the cutoff is midday on Friday to get all of those contracts and everything through to the Premier League to make them eligible. Now, of course, Forest off the back of their first win of the season last weekend against West Ham. So it'll be interesting to see if Steve Cooper makes any changes to the team. Ryan Yates, he's been out with a knee problem. He's could also force his way back into the matchday squad, having missed the first 2 through injury. Leicester City, some very interesting comments from Brendan Rodgers on Thursday afternoon. We'll touch upon Harvey Barnes first. Looks like he's going to be okay. He's trained. He's looked really well. Again, providing there's no reaction and no setbacks, he's going to be ready for potentially a start, although Rodgers wasn't giving anything away. Maybe not fit to play 90 minutes, but what that will allow, if he is going to be named in that starting 11, that would allow the Foxes to revert back to their more familiar or preferred 4-3-3 formation, as opposed to the 3-5-1-1 that they have deployed in those first 2 game weeks. And secondly, Brendan Rodgers was asked about the position of Wesley Fofana. Of course, he's been heavily linked with a move away from Chelsea. There are no further bids submitted, but obviously he can't give any guarantees whether the centre-back will remain during this window. Following on from that, he was asked further questions with regards to bringing players in. And he spoke about how the summer they had identified a number of targets. They had spoken to those players, and those discussions had moved on. They were expecting the club to back his judgment and bring those players in, only for them then to basically say, well, you haven't got the finances in place to be able to do so. And every conversation and every link that they had been established, they weren't able to take that forward anymore. Now, Brendan Rodgers has actually come out and he said that, you know, the squad needs strengthening in several key areas. And so for me, in terms of fantasy, that brings Leicester off the table for me. It's not a well camp. Confidence is low. The manager doesn't seem very happy. And, you know, if he's discussing around strengthening and bringing players in and not having the tools that he needs to, you know, to carry out his plans, that's going to filter down through the squad as well. So morale might be fairly low. And of course, off the back of, well, that 2-2 draw on the open away where Brentford came back, and then that defeat against Arsenal. So for me, the Foxes players are a bit of an avoid at the moment. Ralph Hasenhüttl, again, not going great on the South Coast for the Southampton boss. A couple of updates. Shea Adams picked up a slight knock last weekend in game week 2. He's recovered from that. He failed to train in the early part of the week, but rejoined the group on Thursday. Lianco, the brilliant Brazilian centre-back, did return to the matchday squad in game week 2, but wasn't fit enough to play a part in any minutes. But he's worked fine this week. They'll still be without long-term absentee Tino Livramento and also Roman Peru. He had a metatarsal fracture back end of last season. He did return briefly in game week 1, but he's out of contention. And also Theo Walcott didn't have any preseason at all. He's working his way back to full fitness. And one thing as well, just regards to the Cherries, I missed out at Marcos Senesi, the Argentine defender who was introduced from the bench last week again against Manchester City. Scott Parker said that the defender wasn't ready to be thrown in from the start last weekend due to a lack of training with the group. He arrived at the club late last week. However, he's had a great week on the training pitches, and Scott Parker certainly didn't rule out the possibility of the Argentine starting on Saturday. So that's it ahead of game week 3 for Thursday. We will be providing another daily update on Friday. So, of course, keep your eyes and ears peeled. Follow us through socials at Ben Dinnery and at PremierInjuries.com, or check out the Premier Injuries table at PremierInjuries.com. And also, please remember to subscribe, so when we drop a new video, you'll be notified straight away. And that's it for now.